You too. Okay, so we finished up Act 5 yesterday, so it was a little bit shorter. But basically that was the conclusion of our play. And obviously, it being Shakespeare, him following his format, a lot of people died. A lot of people died. And so now that we've kind of finished the whole thing, now we can kind of look at it from like a bigger picture view. Just want to quickly scroll on down again. Here we go. So all this extra stuff here is just supplemental. It doesn't really need to be done, but again, we can see that all Shakespeare kind of follows this format, right? So you can see it's like basically you start a climb, it's like a mountain. You know, this is where we started. And then the tensions get higher and higher and higher. There's more and more action. There's more stuff happening until we finally reach our climax, the very, very tip of the mountain, right? That was Act 3. That's when all this stuff is going down. That's when everyone figures out everything, makes their resolutions. It, ends with Polonius dying. And then we slowly and slowly start finishing up all of those storylines until finally we get our resolution where everything is over and said and done. So what we're going to do now that we've actually read the thing, the goal is we're going to be doing an essay. This might be the only essay we do in the class. I can't make that promise. It's going to depend on time. I would like to do a second one. We may not have the time to do so. Now, some of us have experience with writing essays before, some of us don't. And so what I'm doing there, sorry? Nope. And that's okay. That was expected. And so we're going to be taking today and tomorrow to be able to so we're going to start writing an actual essay here. So I'll go into some of like the how-tos in a second, but so what we're basically offering here is I'm giving you the chance to, especially if you're uncomfortable, you can do a draft. So you can submit a draft of an essay. And what that means is I'll look over it. I'll make suggestions like, hey, I really like this point. Do you have any extra evidence here? Have you considered using, this quote from Hamlet here, for example, just to be able to, and then I'll give it back to you and you get an opportunity to basically do those additions into it. The entire writing process it's always beneficial to have a draft, to have someone else read over it, make a suggestion, right? So you will get that opportunity here. And basically, if you submit a first draft by, oh God, what was the day? The 5th. I think it was the 5th, yes. So if you're able to submit a essay by the 5th, I will then take it over for the weekend. Even if you're like, only halfway done, that's okay. I'll look it over the weekend. I'll make some suggestions. And then you'll have time to kind of implement those changes. So basically what it is, so what an essay is it's answering a prompt, right? And I've put 7 different potential prompts that you could do here. One of them has to do with, is Hamlet actually faking his madness? Or is he actually starting to lose his sanity? There's good arguments on both sides of that. Like what do you think? Why do you think that? The whole goal of an essay is, this is what I think. This is why I think it. Here's some proof to show this is why I think it. And this is what I think it has to do with the story. So I've made a claim. I need to back that claim up. It can't just be, oh, I think Hamlet's crazy because, no, I think Hamlet's crazy because of this, because of that. So you're coming up with evidence for it that backs up your opinion, right? So one of the ones is, has to do with fake and madness. Another one has to do with Hamlet's relationship with Ophelia. Does he actually like her? Is he just pretending? Does she like him? They have a really complex relationship throughout the play. Another one here has to do with the theme of suicide in here. So, basically it's asking you, why does Hamlet believe that even though people can kill themselves, most people choose to live despite, remember the entire time in the story, we see Hamlet like, oh my God, it sucks being human. It sucks. Women are breeders. They just breed more men who are awful and miserable. No one's an honest person. You see that all throughout the play. So why does Hamlet believe that even though, we're in this really awful society, people still choose to live despite the cruelty, pain, and injustice of the world. One has to do with, the revenge and whether it's ever justified. We bring back Polonius as well. Is he actually a good father? What do you think? Do you think he's a loving father? Do you think he's kind of an asshole? Do you think he's power hungry? Like, what do you think about Polonius? Another possible option here has to do with the futility of life and ambition. For example, like, you think about this graveyard scene in Fortinbras's Inspiration. Do you remember the quote where Hamlet says, from this point on, all my thoughts will be bloody, right? That's when he commits to killing Claudius. And he got inspired to do that because he saw Fortinbras bringing thousands of men, costing a fortune to take basically a farm. He's willing to throw all these men's life away, all this money for a little bit of land. He gets inspired by that. And then, of course, we look into greed and consequences. Those are some really common themes here, right? Characters get consumed by greed. What's their consequences? And what kind of happens with that? So that's almost like a plot summary here. Because remember, all of this started, all of these people died. The entire court got corrupted. You took good, honest people and they got corrupted. Hamlet's two friends were good people, and then Claudius corrupted them. So it's looking at, how come these people are getting corrupted? All of that stemmed from one man's greed, from Claudius choosing to kill old Hamlet. And then it also continued to stem from one man's greed, his seek of revenge, his greed to have revenge. Hamlet chose to kill Claudius, and that's what inspired all of the events that we see unfold, right? Realistically speaking, it's two or three people's greed that causes a bunch of people to die. So those are just a list of 7 different potential topics here. You're welcome to pick any one of them. For the essay itself, most essays are formatted into a 5-paragraph format, where basically in the first one, you have an introduction and a thesis, which is basically outlining, this is what my paper is going to talk about. I think Hamlet's mad, and here's reason 1 why I think Hamlet's mad. Here's reason 2 why I think Hamlet's mad. Here's reason 3 why I think Hamlet's mad. And then what you do is you explore each of those points. Reason 1 is paragraph 2. Reason 2 is paragraph 3. Reason 3 is paragraph 4. So you just give a brief, like, hey, I think Hamlet's crazy because of this, this, and this. And then you go into, this is why I think this. This is how it shows that he's crazy in those each individual paragraphs. And then in the 5th paragraph, you're just kind of doing like a conclusion, a reintroduction to the thesis. It's just, as you can see from all this stuff you've seen up above, this is why I think he's crazy. This should serve as good evidence that he's crazy. So they all follow that same 5-paragraph format. Most of your marks come from just the fact that your writing is logical and effective, right? It just makes sense. What you're saying makes sense. It's understandable. It's really what it kind of boils down to, right? You don't need to get really fancy. You can use very simple language. That's okay. As long as the person who's reading it, in this case, probably me, is going to be able to understand what you're saying. And then a lot of the other marks come from evidence as well, right? You're supporting your claims with evidence. So you have an explanation of why you think something. You have the thing that this proves why I think this. So you're welcome to use anything at your disposal. You don't just need to use the text. Been pretty clear from the front. You're welcome to use lots of different things. If you want a really nice brief summary, you can go to SparkNotes and you can put in Hamlet there, for example. It does a scene by scene breakdown, shows a lot of different like explanations. For example, like Act 2, Scene 2, it tells you a summary of the plot, what the motivations are, why this is an important thing. Might give you some quotes further down, for example, gives you an analysis, so on and so forth. So you're welcome to use that type of stuff. There are probably literally millions of Hamlet essays out there in the world. You're welcome to look at them, see, what are other people saying? You don't need to recreate the wheel with this. The one thing you need to make sure you're doing, though, is that you're not plagiarizing, right? You're not like, oh, this person wrote an entire essay, copy, paste, I'm done. Can't do that. You want to make sure you're putting things in your own words, right? Sometimes that might mean like, oh, this person made a really good point. I'm going to rewrite what they said and just say, I got this information from SparkNotes, Act 2, Scene 2, for example. That's okay. The whole point is you're not redesigning the wheel here. So you're welcome to, I usually recommend some type of an organizer for it. You're welcome to use this. You don't have to. I have it printed out, but basically it's just, you're putting in some basic details. You don't want to just sit there and start writing. You want to have kind of like a map of what's happening. It's like, okay, this is the topic I chose. These are a couple reasons why I think this. Here's a couple things in the play that I think I'm going to use for that. Like, I think Hamlet's mad. I'm going to use how he acted in the play for that, maybe as an example. So you just put in your information in there, and I'm happy to help all the way around here. So I have this printed off. I'll hand it out. You don't have to use it, but I recommend you try and at least organize your thoughts just a little bit before you start the writing process. There was something else. I don't remember what it was. Is there any questions at all about the essay? So I'll let you get started then. What my recommendation for you to kind of start out with is pick a topic and just come up with just a couple points of, this is what I think supports this. If you think that, if you're doing, let's say Polonius, and you think he's a loving father, try and think of 3 reasons why you think he's a loving father. Or maybe you think he's just an awful person. Think of 3 reasons why you think he's an awful person, and then let's explore that. You don't have to reread the entire text again. We can purposely search for quotes. We can search for a plot development within it without having to reread the entire book. So I'll let you guys get at that then. You'll have today and tomorrow as time for your first draft. And then you know what? Whatever you have, I'm happy to take in for the weekend and give recommendations. So I'll hand this out. You don't have to use it. Yeah, you should get a welcome email, and so I think you can kind of step up. Oh, you have the number. Okay. Then you have to email it. Okay, so maybe you have to wait this. That would be yeah, because it looks like they send you back for that. Yeah, I think you have to wait a bit. And you should do this yesterday. Yeah. You might get it today. There's potential you might get it today. And again, if you're unsure where to start, please ask for help. Essays, can get really